So now we're going to learn how to use our keyboard instead of our mouse. And first of all, we've got to learn how to navigate in a document. So if you press on the key Home, is going to the beginning of the row. So end goes to the end. Pay attention here. If I'm here and I go to press Home, it goes to Monday. If I press End, it's not going here, it's going here. Why is that? Because even though these cells are empty, actually they are not really empty, because given that this whole thing is a table and these columns are active, there is something in them. That means that all of these are considered cells of the same table. That means that for this row, the row goes up to here. So Home goes, End goes here. So this is the end of the row, because this is the end of the table, is the last column for the table. Then Control Home goes to the beginning of the table. Control End goes here. As you can see, this is the last row and the last column used. I don't have to have a value here because this row is active and this column is active, and they are the last ones. So Control, and then if I press Control and the right arrow, it goes to the last cell of this data range. You see, for example, that all these cells have values. So if I'm here, it goes to the very last non-empty cell. What happens if I have something like this? So if I do End, it goes up to here. However, if I press Control right arrow, it goes up to here. If I do it again, Control right, it goes here. So it's going to skip. It stops at the first non-empty cell, and then it skips the empty cells and goes to the next non-empty cell, and then again it goes here. Same thing when you want to, Control left is the same thing. Then Control down arrow, same thing. For example, in the D column, if I press Control down, it goes to the last non-empty contiguous cell, and then it skips it and it goes like this. If I press Page down, it moves a screen. So the last row indicated here is 24, so Page down starts from 25. If, on the other hand, I press Alt plus Page down, it moves a screen to the right instead of downwards. So you can see that this is the column A, and this is J, the last one. So if I press Alt plus Page down, J is the first one, and then S, so it goes to S, then AB, so AB here. Of course, I can always press Control Home to go to the very beginning of my table. And I can use the arrows up, down, and right, left to go wherever I want. If I want to select cells, for example, go from here, from A1 to D1, I can just press Shift and then go to D1. If I want to select from A1 to G1 to J, so to G1 here, this thing. So I know that with Control right, I can go from A1 to G1. I'm repeating, Control right arrow, right, like this. Control right, left. So I'm doing the same thing, but at the same time I'm going to press Shift, and then Control right. Same thing, downwards, Shift, and then Control down, and I get I go to the last non-empty cell of this range. And of course, Page up, Page down, Shift, Page up, it goes like this. It selects all this. So the same thing as page up, page down, but with Shift I select the cells in between. If I want, my cursor is here. If I want to choose to select the whole table containing this cell, Control and the multiply sign. So this is the thing. So this is another table. Is not the same thing as here. This is the same spreadsheet, all of this, but this table is different from this one. Why is that? Because there are empty cells that separate them. So if I have something like this, you see that there is no empty cell separating, so it's going up to here. Delete contents. Again, I let the cursor here. I click and then Control and the multiply button, and there you go. If I want to insert a cell, for example here, I can normally do right click, insert, and then if I insert a cell, I can shift the cells down, for example. So I inserted the cell here and everything went downwards. Or shift cells right. I think I made a mistake. Right. So it went right. Or I can have an entire row or entire column, for example. Instead of doing insert, so right click and insert or delete a cell, I can just do Control and plus, and I get the same thing, and then Control minus for delete, so the same interface. So when you have if you want to navigate between sheets, instead of doing like this, I can press Control and page up or page down. So there you go. You can see down the selected sheet. And then when I had something like a formula like this, normally A1 times B1, you see that if I click on the C1 cell, I got the result in the cell and the formula, the original formula, in the input line. However, if I want the formula here, I can just press Control and then the button here, this one here with the number 2 is just to, or let's say to the north of tab. So let's see, Control and then that, and you've got the formula. I can toggle between the result and the formula. So toggle again. Then you can press F1 to get the help like this. So F1. If I press Shift F1, you see what happens to the cursor. And if I let it on something, if I let the mouse hover on something, you've got the help text, the pop-up, and I can stop the help, exit with escape. So there you go. So normally this is what happens when I hover the mouse and then Shift F1, and I get all this. Escape. Then F2 if it replaces double click. So F2 lets me within a cell like this. Then if I want to go click here, function wizard, and find all the functions with Calc, within Calc. We're going to see about the functions later. Instead of clicking here, I can do Control F2. So we've got the same interface here. So there you go. If I click on Control, Shift and F2, the cursor comes here instead of here. So you see the difference here, and now I'm here. So press enter and it goes back here in the spreadsheet. So again, Control Shift F2 and you see the cursor here. So normally when you have long formulas, it's not very easy, convenient to write them within the cell. For example, if I've got something like this, and I have really long formulas, something like this, it's not very easy to write it down. So I can go back up and write it with Control Shift F2 and enter. And of course we've got the F11, so this is a style in formatting here, so you can go from format and then styles and formatting. So this is mostly in writer, but you can use it here, and again F11 to hide it. So these are the basic shortcuts. I'm not going to showcase everything because it can become quite complicated, of course. And you've got shortcuts here, the basic shortcuts, and you can go, for example, F7 for spelling, and you've got all the basic shortcuts. So if you want more information on how to use your keyboard and find out more shortcuts, you can always go to F1 help, and then you write down shortcuts, find, and you've got the general shortcut keys for OpenOffice, and then you've got shortcut keys for spreadsheets, for Calc, and of course for access for the database, etc., and shortcuts, accessibility, etc. So you have everything you need here. So I'm just showcasing what I'm using mostly, and what is going to be of use for you.